So, Professor Welcher, what is the black middle class dilemma?
So I think the black middle class dilemma, if I had to sum it up in a sentence or two, would be the issue that the black middle class is not real to any sort of major structures in society. Often, because of this idea of intersectionality that we discussed in sociology, where people battle and try to reconcile multiple identities, we have the racial identity that doesn't match the class identity. So being black doesn't automatically make you rich or middle class, it makes you poor, right? When we think of black, we think of urban. Being middle class doesn't make you black. We think of middle class, suburbs, we think of white. So the black middle class dilemma is trying to figure out, how do we be black and middle class? How do we perform that? How do we live in residential spaces? How do we send our kids to school? How do we raise our children to understand their sort of racial identity? How do we reconcile our own racial identities and racial understandings? So that's the dilemma.
So, what types of things do you think the black middle class needs to move forward in terms of social class and socioeconomic status?
One is the redistribution of wealth. If we could redistribute wealth, everything would be better. It's actually sort of a radical idea that I have that I think would really resolve many of the problems. And that is understanding that you will never, in my opinion, be accepted as a black middle class person as long as you embrace your black identity. So to connect with the larger black community and develop our own banks, our own schools, where the black middle class is funding those and supporting those. Because what ends up happening is very, very often black middle class folks, and actually I attribute a lot of this to the sort of desegregation movement, right? So I've been living a segregated life my whole life. All of a sudden I get an education, I get a job, and I'm moving to the white suburbs. And when I get to these suburbs, what ends up happening is my children are often experiencing racialized treatment. I'm experiencing discrimination in the services that I receive, and I'm unhappy. I'm looking the part, but I'm not living the part. And so I think if the black middle class would pool their resources with the larger black community, that then we could establish, and not segregation in the sense of de jure segregation, but just the idea that we can believe and support ourselves. So open an account with Citizens Trust Bank, and instead of trying to run to Wells Fargo because they'll give you money to live in that big, nice white suburb, figuring out how do I help build businesses and develop entrepreneurship in the black community. I don't think that the black middle class will ever advance in terms of socioeconomic status or class, depending on the sort of broader racialized, highly racialized American economy.